Hi, I'm Jason McAteer and you're watching the Redmen TV.
Hey everyone, Sam from United People's TV here to do a quick tactical preview of Man United. Chris from Redmen TV has asked me to do this for their channel ahead of the weekend. Obviously we travel to Anfield, always one of the hardest away trips of the season, and United are coming into this with 3 wins in 12, so we're not exactly sparkling in form. But just going to run through how I think we're going to line up, where our players are going to play, and potentially how we're going to play against you. I mean, starting off at the top, David De Gea, I think it's a no-brainer. I say I think it's a no-brainer. It is a fucking no-brainer. He's still probably our best player. Has been for like 3 years now. Against Newcastle, we may have drawn 3-3, but he made 2 or 3 crucial saves. It was quite embarrassing, really, conceding 3 goals against a team that hadn't scored in 300 minutes and was in the relegation zone. So I suppose that gives you a bit of impetus, bit of attacking impetus to go forward there. But I think with your injuries, your attack is, it's not looking strong. I'm so glad that Coutinho's out. Sturridge is obviously still out, and there's a whole, I don't know how many players you've got injured now. But that should give us a slight advantage. But it's Anfield, it's Derby Day. You don't know what's going to happen. But looking at heart of our defence, Chris Smalling's a strange one. I mean, at the start of the season, pretty much most of this season, he's been one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League. Since he got injured, he's gone off the boil a bit. And I'm not sure, obviously none of you probably watched the Newcastle United game, but he was shocking. He was involved in all 3 goals in the wrong way possible. And for some reason, he got involved in a wrestling match that gave Newcastle a penalty that got them straight back into the game. So I'm a little bit worried about that. But if Smalling can refine that sort of form, we need him to be strong. We need leaders, because it's Anfield. It's hostile. It's a tough game. But Blind is not exactly a centre-back either. And Blind, again, comes in waves. I mean, against you at Old Trafford this season, it was his goal that sort of got the game moving. But he's not really a centre-back. I would much rather see him at left-back, because Luke Shaw's injured, and that's such a bad injury for us. I don't think anybody realises just how much of an impact that's had on our season. Because Van Gaal's philosophy, his process, whatever you want to call it, it relies on overlapping the fullbacks. And without Shaw, we've lost that down the left. Memphis and Shaw had a great partnership going. Since Shaw's gone, Memphis has gone downhill. So I don't actually expect Memphis to start against you either. So I've gone for Darwin and Young as our fullbacks, and I think that's where you're probably going to have most of your success at Anfield. I think Moreno and Klein, 2 good players, and the main thing they've got is pace. And pace is the danger point, because we've got Smalling's actually, he's not too slow, and neither's Young, but Young's going to be, he's a winger, he's a natural winger. He's going to be going down for the overlaps. He's going to leave space. If you can exploit that space that's going to come in behind Young and Darmian, you're going to have some success. I think Darmian is a natural right back, but he can play left back, he can play centre back. And since Shaw's out, Rojo's out, and Blind's now got to play centre back, we don't have anybody else. But against Newcastle, Darmian started left back, but within 10 minutes, he had taken a cross down at right wing. He had been spotted in midfield. He was kind of all over the place. If he doesn't have that discipline against you, you're going to exploit it. So if I was Klopp looking into this, I'd see this as the 2 weak points, but you really need your pace. That's why I think Moreno and Klein can probably be your danger points, because for me, that's where I'm looking as the big weakness in our defence. I don't think you've got enough, because you've got so many injuries now. I don't think you're going to pose too much threat down the middle, because Coutinho is your heart piece. Take him out, you're going to be going towards the wings. Now this is I'm not too sure about this. I think this is probably more hopeful of what I want to see United line up as. I'm not sure if he will line up as this. Now, against Newcastle, we switched to a 4-3-3. Now that is typically Van Gaal's, if you look back over the years as a manager, he plays 4-3-3. This season he's reverted to a 4-2-3-1, playing with 2 defensive holding midfielders. And it's led to a lot of shit football. That went away against Newcastle, and all of a sudden we couldn't defend. So this balance that Louis van Gaal has been looking for, it still has no idea where it is. It eludes him. Now, Schneiderlin is our, if I'm looking at first players on a team sheet, De Gea and Schneiderlin are my first 2. Schneiderlin should be playing every single week. And it's because he does his jobs that, against Newcastle, you didn't hear his name once, but he was just there. He was always around. He was always at the right place at the right time. That's the sort of player he is. And is that there's two ways we're going to line up in midfield. It's either going to be a 4-2-3-1 with Schneiderlin and another holding midfielder, or we're going to have Schneiderlin on his own at the bottom of a midfield three in a 4-3-3. I think because it's Anfield, Van Gaal's going to take the pragmatic approach. I think he's going to revert back to that 4-2-3-1, probably sit deeper and hit on the counter-attack, which is typically what you do away from home. And we can do that if we play the right players. If we don't, we're going to slow it down way too much, and you're probably going to win the game. Now, Fellaini played there against Newcastle, played alongside Schneiderlin. I didn't play. That's when we played the 4-3-3. We had Schneiderlin holding with Fellaini and Herrera in front of him. Fellaini was fucking awful. He was literally a tree. I don't know how he didn't get sent off in that first half. Somehow he came out in the second half. And even more miraculously, he lasted the whole game. Now, fans have pretty much lost it with Fellaini. When you play Fellaini, you use his strengths and you use him in the right position at the right time, he can be a good player. When you're starting with him as your central midfielder, you're fucked. And he started way too many games. And this is why I'm saying I'm more hopeful than anything, because I think he probably will play against you. If he does play against you, you've got to be laughing. You may have injuries, but we've still got Fellaini, right? So if Fellaini does play there, I think it's disadvantage to United. I would not normally put Herrera that deep, but we've got Schweinsteiger's injured, and I think Carrick's injured as well. So our central midfield options are a bit limited. Hence why I'm going to put Herrera a little bit deeper. But he can play that deeper role. He can do biting tackles. He's got good discipline and great little passing range and good energy as well. So I think he could play that position pretty well. And the reason I'm putting him deeper is because Juan Mata's got to start. Now, he may have been dropped against Newcastle, and I think that was very fair. That was the right thing to do. Mata's, at the start of the season, he was one of our better players, but in recent weeks, he's been pretty invisible. The games are just passing him by. But we all know what happened last year at Anfield, and I don't think Louis van Gaal's going to forget that. Van Gaal always plays players against their ex-teams, and I feel that he won't go into this game without thinking, I know what Juan did last year, he's got to start. Where he starts is a different question altogether, and that, for me, is the crux of this game. If we set up with like Lingard and Martial on the wings, or Lingard and Memphis, if we've got pace on both wings, we can win at Anfield. If we don't, if Mata is playing on the right wing, where he's actually played the majority of the season, and we slow that game down way too much, you're going to win. Especially if we've got Fellaini down there and Mata on the right wing. We'll have no pace points. We'll just be relying on Anthony Martial, and you'll just double up on him, and he won't be able to do anything. So I think this is the most crucial part of the whole game. If we can play, because we've had Swansea, Chelsea, and we've had Newcastle, were 3 games where we played with actual genuine width. You know, you remember United. United always played with those fast wingers, and it was always our danger point. We lost that in recent weeks. I don't know. I know exactly why. It's because we've been playing players like Mata on the wing. It just slows the game down too much. If you've got Lingard and Young, that's a good overlapping partnership. It's going to be dangerous for when you come on the attack, but I suppose you've got to take some risks. And I think what we've seen in the past few weeks, Van Gaal was on the verge of getting sacked. Everyone knew that. But it seems to have changed. I didn't think he would. I thought he was so stubborn that he would literally rather get sacked than change his philosophy. But if you're looking at how we've played in our last few games, that's not Van Gaal's philosophy. He was up out of the dugout against Newcastle, and that's not Van Gaal's philosophy. I think he's changing. I think he's realised that his balls are on the line, and that things do have to change. I think because of that, we're going to come and we're going to play with those wide players that have got genuine pace, because that's going to be just as much as I said. I think your danger point's going to be down up against Young and Darmian. It's whether Lingard and Martial or Lingard, Memphis, whoever plays on these 2 wings, if they've got pace, we'll have a genuine chance of beating you. And obviously up front we've got Rooney. Now, traditionally Rooney plays shite at Liverpool. He just doesn't. He can't handle the pressure. I don't think he just doesn't like going back to Merseyside. But against Newcastle, he scored 2 goals, and he looked fucking fantastic. I mean, that second goal was a real peach. But Rooney, across this whole season, has been poor all year. He can't deny it. But ever since he got dropped against Stoke, he came back into the team. He's looked better. He's got a little bit of fire in his belly. I think with Rooney, Van Gaal saying that he sold Hernandez and Van Persie and Falcao because he didn't want to have too much pressure on his players for competition. That is not how Rooney plays. If Rooney gets complacent and knows he's going to play every single week, he won't have that fire in his belly, he won't have that drive, and he won't care. And I think we saw that. Once he got dropped against Stoke, he came back in and he wanted to play. I don't think... Will he score at Anfield? I'm not sure, but I'm much more confident about him scoring at Anfield after what he showed against Newcastle. But it all depends on how we set up against you. As I said, there's two ways we can do it. We're either going to sit with two defensive holding midfielders and play slow. Hopefully not. Hopefully we're going to have these players here. Martial's obviously going to be our most important player going forward because he's got that pace. He can do anything, as he showed against you with that wonderful goal at Old Trafford on his debut. But if we decide to play Mata on the right wing, I think we've already lost the game, if you ask me, because we're just going to slow it down too much. Mata's got to play centrally if he's going to play, and we need to get pace on these wings. And especially because, as I said, it's your danger points as well. So Martial and Lingard are going to have to do a lot of running up and down. They're going to have to double up. And I don't know how the game's going to go. I think with so many injuries in the Liverpool team, we should be going there with a bit more confidence than we maybe normally would. And we went there last year, and it was the best game I've seen at Anfield from United in a long time. But let me know in the comments below what you think, or how you think Liverpool are going to line up. Do you think United will play with pace on the wings? I mean, hopefully we do win, but you know it's Anfield and anything can happen. And hopefully we can speak to you on Sunday after we do win. But yeah, take it easy, guys.
No!
Yes. In terms of...
Who was it? Jimmy Milner again? He's on fire.